Hey y'all, so welcome back to another video. This is the fourth time I have recorded this. The third time I recorded this is later because I forgot to re-record the first part. Either way, so let's get into the start of the video. I'll tell you when we switch off. D4, knight f6. Also, I'm playing. Let's give you some background. My opponent is a jellyfish skin from Greenland named Envie Demependre, and yeah, he's actually created his account 9 days ago, which is very interesting. I always check this at the start to make sure if they're cheating or not. When someone has like an old account, it's pretty clear that they're not cheating. Someone has a new account, it's kind of rare that they're not cheating. But I don't think that was the case. I don't think this guy was cheating. I think he was just a little underrated. And I play my moves. I play bishop g5, g6 takes. I go e3, and I have a pretty simple idea. The setup that I'm going for is a very interesting one. I'm going g3, I'm going bishop g2, I'm going knight e2, I'm going c4, I'm going knight c3, and I'm going castles. And at the same time, what he's going to do, he's going to try and play d5, c6, knight d7, bishop g7, castles, f5, and knight f6. This is the setup that black and white go for in this position. But my opponent surprised me quickly, so I play my moves. I go g3, he goes c6, he's going for the main setup, and then he plays something weird. He plays this move bishop d6, and this move I'd never seen before, because I mean, most people go for g7. Why did you play g6 earlier if you're not going to go bishop g7? This really caught me off guard because I don't see this a lot recently. I don't think I've ever seen this. And I ended up going for my main move. I go for knight e2. I mean, I'm going for the normal setup. I'm still going for c4 and knight e2. But then my opponent surprises me again. He plays this move h5, which is really weird. And I didn't really think that you could play it like this because where is he gonna castle? Where is his king gonna go? But then maybe he's not gonna have that many weaknesses because I don't have a dark squared bishop, and it's actually okay. So h5, and I thought about it for a while, and I thought castles would be bad because of this move, and he was getting to h3, and then I would not be doing quite well. If I go for my plan knight d2 and c4, he goes h3, and I have to go bishop f3, and this pawn is going to be a nuisance in many different lines. This pawn is going to be a big nuisance, and I don't want to deal with it. I really don't deal with it. So instead of allowing that, I go h4. I respect him, and he goes knight d7. I go knight d2, continue with my plan of going c4, f5, c4. Of course, f5 is part of his setup, like I told you about earlier. He's trying to play knight f6, and he's trying to castle. But in this setup, he's supposed to have a bishop on g7, which is just weird that he's not going for this. So dc, knight takes c4, bishop c7, knight c3. Continuing with my plan. Yeah, and I simply he goes knight f6, and oh yeah, let me talk to you about my plan for a second here. So queen f6 is an interesting move. Queen f6 is a very interesting move. The idea of queen f6 is that I don't want to play d5 immediately. d5 is my plan. I don't want to play d5 immediately, and the reason why is because after all these trades in the center, after all of these trades, we're gonna get into a really boring position. Sorry about that. We're getting into a really boring position where I just don't want to play this. I don't play this. Like, he has this move bishop e6, for example, takes. That'd be lucky. Takes, and this is just really normal. We're probably just gonna draw, and I wanted to win still, so I didn't go for this. And the reason why I played queen f3 here, let me tell you, is because the idea is rook d1 and then playing d5 then, because after the knights are traded, I get my rook in the center, and I'm doing decently. I like that position a little more than if we traded all the pieces. So my opponent goes king f8, which is reasonable. He's trying to castle, and I go rook d1, another reasonable move. And yeah, of course I'm going with my plan. I'm going to play d5, but now is the part where we're going to switch recordings after the move bishop e6, and past me will tell you all about it. This is the third time we've had to re-record this. Sorry about the awkward cuts. The first time, actually, I recorded the entire video and then I came back here, but um, I realized my mic was muted, which is quite funny. So this is the third time I've recorded this. My mic has been muted twice, and yeah. Either way, so bishop e6. The idea is, of course, stopping d5, and let's say I play d5. Let's say I play this d5 move. d5 would not work because although I have all my defenders here, after this trade, I get into a position where I'm just simply down in exchange. If my queen was on the other side, if these two pieces swapped places, then I would be able to play d5 successfully, but that's why bishop e6 is so good, and instead I just play a reasonable move. I play this move knight e5. Of course, move my knight out of danger and putting it in the center. Very good move, very good move. And we're both playing quite logically. After king g7, he finishes his plan, and I continue with mine. I castle, getting my king out of danger, queen up, and this move is very nice. This is a very nice move too. Every move he plays is very nice in all honesty, because this move is really good. The reason why is because he's trying to go to b4, but he has a secret plan. Oh, also, obviously, he's getting out of the discovered attack in some lines. He has a secret plan, and the idea is that he actually wants to take my knight. And then, let's say I do nothing. Let me illustrate this. After bishop takes knight, pawn takes knight, this pawn is a massive liability here. It's a big weakness, and if I defend it with my queen, he simply gets bishop b3 and he's going to win it. So I don't want to be down to pawn, so I don't go for that line. And I instead realize danger, and I go knight d3, knocking out two birds with one stone, because the knight moves, knight was under attack, and the b4 square is now covered. So, great. He plays bishop c6, bishop d6, of course. And now I thought, okay, well, I don't care about the b4 square anymore, because if the bishop goes there, I might play rook c1, I'll be fine. There's really no threat. So my knight is a little misplaced. And I put it on f4 now, targeting the light squared bishop, and I want the light squared bishop. That light squared bishop looks juicy, and I want a piece of it. So he moves it. He goes bishop c4, of course, moving a bishop, and I rook e1. Another interesting move. This move might actually be able to be played, this e4 move, because the queen is on the opposite side, and that opening up, maybe I get an isolated pawn. It's you can argue that it's bad to play this way, but it's not that simple, really. My opponent plays this move. Actually, this stops this e4 idea. I honestly didn't see this during the game. e4 was not on my radar. I see this after the game now. I'm analyzing this, but e4 now would be a massive mistake because of fe, knight e, and queen e4, and I mean, this trade is not good. After trading everything, I'm left with doubled pawns. And if I don't take with the queen, I mean, like, what am I supposed to do? I'm down a piece. So that's why e4 doesn't work anymore. But either way, it wasn't on my radar in the first place. I simply played b3, which I think is a good move. After the bishop moves, I was going to move my knight over here. And the reason why I played b3 at first instead of moving my knight is because I don't want the a2 pawn to be lost. Of course, I would like to keep all my pawns. So bishop a6, I go rook c1 first. And that's actually a really interesting idea. The reason I played rook c1 is very interesting. The reason I played rook c1 is because I was scared of this move, knight e4. Knight e4. And you might say, okay, well, knight e4, what does that have to do with anything? Knight e4, I mean, what does that have to do with rook c1? They're like so different. The rook isn't even defending the square. Rook is doing nothing, but it is because let's say I do nothing. It's kind of, let's go king h1. After knight e4, which is the best move, this is what I was worried about. I can't take the knight. I can't take the knight because of fe, and my queen is trapped, which is incredible. The way I have to free myself is with yeah, this move, knight h5. Oh, king h6 is gangster. And then I'm losing a piece here, at the very least. I'm losing a piece. Yeah, this is the position that I would end up with. This is the top engine line. This is lost, of course. And the reason why my queen is trapped is because this rook is defending the d1 square. Well, not defending, it's controlling the d1 square. So I have to move it. And that's why I played this move rook c1, which is very interesting. And now knight e4 doesn't work. I mean, it's still like completely fine, but I'll take, and I'm doing pretty decent. I don't know. Maybe I won't take. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll play queen d1. I don't know. Either way, I don't do that. He doesn't play it either. He goes bishop e4. And I just step out of the pin, rook ed1. And I might be preparing d5 again. Now, remember that d5 idea? That idea might come to fruition again here, because d5 now, if I'm able to play d5, like for example, of just something like bishop a5, I think d5 might be interesting. d5 might be a very interesting move. And it's a little tricky. It's a little tricky for my opponent to find a way to play. But yeah. Anyway, so he doesn't do that. He defends the square. I don't play d5 now because I don't really want to anymore. And I instead play this move knight a4, switching up my plans. And I might be going to c5. I might be going to b3. I'd love to go to c5 actually, but c5 might not work in some lines. And my opponent quickly illustrates how this move knight e4 played in like no time, 3 seconds, knight e4. Just quickly understanding that my knight was guarding this square, and now as it leaves, the e4 square is up for grabs. So maybe knight a4 was the wrong move, but it's still a very hard position to play, and there's a lot of potholes. So I'm glad that I'm playing the way I am. And I go rook c2, of course, defending the d2 square, making sure there's nothing there, and my opponent goes to this move b5, which is very reasonable move b5. And I end up playing the best move, but not because I realized it was the best move. I really wanted to play this move knight c5, which is the second best move, but I thought that the square was defended, and I didn't realize. I thought he was just winning a pawn here. I didn't realize that after here, actually, actually no. Yeah, bishop takes at the best line. Bishop takes dc, knight takes. I didn't realize that I have to trade the rooks first. I didn't realize that I'd be winning this pawn. I just didn't see this. A little error on my part, you may say, but either way, it led me to the best move, which is knight b2. c5 happens. I take, bishop takes, and I go with this move knight d3. Also very reasonable. I'm trying to bring my knight up into the center. And going forward is always nice. So my opponent plays this move bishop d6, and this is the point where I think I have the best position I have ever gotten, because actually my position is quite nice. This bishop is pretty bad, and my knights get very active here very quickly. After this move knight d5, my opponent goes queen e6. I go knight f4, defending the knight and targeting the queen again. And my position is very reasonable. The best move here is bishop takes f4, which is a crazy move. I mean, that's a wild move. I wouldn't play that. I wouldn't play bishop takes f4. That's wild. But my opponent doesn't see it. My opponent goes queen e5, which is reasonable. And here I have my best position in the game. After a very reasonable move. This move was on my radar, actually. I was thinking about this. I was thinking about playing this move rook d4. It's not the best move. The best move is a weird queen move. It's queen e2. I guess trying to prevent b4, but I don't know. I like... That's the move I played. I like rook d4 here. This was on my radar. I didn't play it. I was going to play it later, but not right now. Instead, I played b4, and this is a very simple idea. I'm trying to lock down the c5 square and keep this bishop locked away, and I thought I blundered, and I feel really idiotic for this. My opponent plays bishop b7, and I'm like, what? My knight is trapped. Oh no, my knight is hanging, and it is going to be trapped. Oh gosh. Oh gosh, golly. Oh gosh. Oh gosh, oh gosh, oh gosh, oh gosh. But it's not. it's just not. It's simply not trapped. And I was gonna play, and my original idea was to play rook d4, which is the best move, but the knight is not trapped. It's not even being attacked. It's not even being attacked. Like, this knight is defended twice and it's attacked twice. I don't know what I was thinking here, but I thought that I was just gonna lose the knight, so I thought, why don't I lose it on my terms? And I play knight c3. It's just like ridiculous. I really should not have done this, but either way, knight c3, queen b7 takes, and my opponent just sacks the knight to try and get into a position where he's up in exchange, and this is just completely lost. And I really just don't know why I forgot that, but you know, sometimes it happens. I go knight d4, knight d5. A way to play on would probably be play like king h2, but then bishop f4. I have weaknesses. I'm gonna lose a pawn here. so there's not really much I can do. Yeah, I play knight d5 takes, knight b6 takes, and yeah, it's not much to really analyze here because it was just a ridiculous blunder. And that's kind of how I've been playing recently, which is just kind of sad. Yeah, basically, kind of like as soon as I hit 2100, I've been not playing as well, which is very sad. But either way, that was the first game, and I ended up playing a rematch. And let's get into that game. So this is the second game. Same person, with the jellyfish guy. Either way, let's get into it. So my opponent plays d4, reasonable move. I go knight f6, c4. I try to play the nimso. After knight f3, I like playing the nimso, but he plays this move knight c3. I like playing the nimso, but he plays this move knight f3, and really I shouldn't be playing the line that I played because I don't know it. But I kind of want to, I don't know, branch out. I play this in a Benoni style with the move c5, which is a move, but it gets into just a worse position for white. Like this is just, for black, this is just bad. It's just bad. It's an opening, but it's bad. My opponent plays d5, and I take, and this is just a Benoni structure, but there's lots of issues with the Benoni, as you can see, plus 0.7. The reason why is because most of the time you don't have enough squares for your minor pieces. Like you just don't have enough good squares for your minor pieces. Like you love to play knight c6, but that's never gonna happen because there's a pawn there, and it's just a bad position. It's just a bad position. So knight c3, I go bishop g4, trying to develop my pieces because I don't really know how to play this structure, and I mean principles are good. And he plays his best move. He plays the knight d2 pretty quickly. I go knight d7, knight bd7. Reasonable move. I'm just trying to develop my pieces, but as you can see, the advantage has ballooned to +2 here, which is wild because, I mean, we're still in like the opening phase. It's move 7. It's crazy. F3. Oh, and I promise this game is longer than like 15 moves. Trust me, it'll be a good game. It's a good game. My opponent plays f3, targeting my bishop. If I go to f5, he gets e4 with tempo, and then I'm gonna have to block my g pawn, and I don't want to do that. So I thought for a while, and I ended up playing h5, bishop h5. Now e4 anyway. I could play knight e5. That's a move. I could play knight e5, but there are tactics galore. He might play knight c4 here. Like let's say knight e5. Like what does he play? Oh, that's rough. He plays g4. He plays g4, and oh, my bishop's trapped. Oh, that's very crazy. The bishop's actually trapped here. Is it? Yeah, bishop's trapped after f4 here. Yeah. Bishop b5 check. Oh, bishop b5 check. I have to play king e7, and then oh yeah, my bishop's not even trapped. It's just over. But yeah, I didn't see that. I didn't even play knight e5. I played this move g5. I thought for a while, and I thought this was very creative. G5. The idea is that I'm gonna play g4 in the future. I'm gonna play g4. I'm going to try and keep my wits about myself, and I'm gonna try and maybe even use my bad bishop as an attacking unit. But my opponent plays bishop e2 first, and I make a big mistake here. I should have played this move h6, but instead I play the move bishop g7, which actually loses a pawn, and I missed this because I was tilted. I mean, I lost the last game pretty poorly, and I'm mad. So bishop g7, my opponent plays knight c4, and he attacks 2 pawns. He attacks this one and this one, and I can't defend both of them. If I could, that'd be great. If I could play knight e8, that'd be great, but I'm not able to take my own king. So yeah, either way, I'm able to lose a pawn. I go knight b6 because I like my d6 pawn better than my g5 pawn, and bishop takes g5, knight c4, and my opponent tries to recapture with the queen. A great idea. I play this interesting idea here. The move I end up playing is this move, queen d7, blocking the check. It's either queen d7 or my king moves, but queen d7 is very interesting because I will actually love to recapture, to trade queens here. after a queen trade, like say this position, as you can see, the advantage goes down a lot because my opponent doesn't really have the attacking prospects, and I have some compensation. I have the e5 square for my knight. I might be able to play f6. Probably the move I play here is maybe not f6 actually, because that blocks the bishop. Maybe I'll play h6. Okay, well, maybe I don't know. Maybe I know nothing about chess, but either way, this position is not that bad. Here, I'd probably figure something out. And I mean, it'd still be a game, but instead, my opponent just recaptures the best move. I go a6, preventing any knight or queen b5, and maybe I'll play b4, b5 in the future. He does have this move. If he wants to trade queens, he can play queen a4. But then again, I already said he doesn't want to trade queens here. So, a6, my opponent plays a4, controlling the b5 square, and I castle. Of course, getting my king out of the center, bring my rook into the game, and I'm still trying to, well, I'm trying to make a draw at this point. I know my position is bad, I don't want to lose. a5, I go h6, hitting the bishop, knocking it back. Bishop back to f4, and I go rook e8, developing my rook on the semi-open file. Semi-open file is where, if you don't know, a little bit of knowledge here. Semi-open file is a very interesting little term. It's where one pawn is blocking it instead of two. Like this is a closed file because there's two pawns blocking it. There's a black pawn and a white pawn. There's only a white pawn, and it'd be the same if it was only a black pawn. Like this is also a semi-open file. This file is also a semi-open file because there's only a black pawn defending it. But yeah, so I put my rook on the semi-open file, castles. I go bishop g6 because my bishop is doing nothing on the h5 square, so I'd be rather it be pressuring the center. G4, I go h5. If he takes, I'd be happy because then he opens up his king, be able to get my knight in. I might even start an attack, and I could actually win the game. So he plays h3, takes. Oh my gosh, sorry about this. I got a sunburn on my vacation a week ago, and man, it is really hurting. Sorry. Yeah, let's get back into the chess. And I go for this move, knight h7. Here, I was considering this move king h7, but I realized that this was wrong. After king g2, rook h8, yeah, that's the idea, king h7, is rook h1 here, takes, and rook back to h1, and he controls that file, and that's rough. That's really bad, and I don't want to get into any part of that. So, oh my gosh, my back is hurting so much. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, this sunburn is driving me crazy. I don't play king h7, I play knight h7 though, continuing my plan, and I might play f6, I might play knight g5 in the future. That's one of my ideas. King g2, and I continue with my plan. I go f6, d is knight g5, king f7, and then the rook to the h file. So, my opponent plays knight a4, and this is an engine idea. This is a very interesting idea. The idea is that he's trying to fork me, and what he's doing is he's kicking my queen off of the light square diagonal, which is what it wants to be on. It wants to be here because there might be sacrifices on the g4 pawn in the future. I might be able to play f5, and all in all, I really want to keep my queen there. But this move is very well timed. This is one of the reasons why I think he's underrated, because I was not looking for this move at all. Oh my gosh. I was looking on this side of the board. Not really. I wasn't really thinking about that at all. So, either way, I go rook d8, of course defending the pin, knight here, and queen e7, getting on the best possible square that's not on the best diagonal that I want to be on. My opponent goes rook e1. I go knight g5, and I'm going to bring my king to f7. I'm going to bring a rook to h8. I'm going to be happy. Queen d1, and I go for this move, bishop h6. Very interesting. If bishop takes, I thought I was doing quite well. Bishop g5, and here actually doesn't work. Here just loses. Queen e4, and I win. I win the game here. Because here, I take another pawn. I'm completely winning, and my opponent can actually resign here. I'm up a pawn. But my opponent doesn't do that. That's why I played bishop h6. My opponent doesn't do that. My opponent goes for a different move. Obviously, the best move, rook h1. I mean, anyone with a brain would play this. I I go king g7, defending my bishop, and I'm willing to bring my other rooks to h8. And it's really actually kind of a hard position to play for white. I mean, you're winning, but it's hard to tell why you're winning. Your position looks amazing, but it's a little tough to play. Knight c4, rook h8, and this move bishop d3, and I thought this was a mistake. Because this bishop is misplaced. Now he can't play this move e5 anymore. He can't play this move e5. E5 is an idea of his that's always kind of in the back of my mind, but he can't play e5 now because now the bishop will hang. He wasn't able to play it before because, of course, my pawns would take, but sometimes he will be able to make that sacrifice. But now he just can't play anything. So I play this move knight f7, initiated some trades on this file, and takes. I can take with a rook, but I end up thinking about it for a while, and I realize I really don't want trades. I really don't want trades. So I take with a knight. Trades are just like the worst thing for me. So I take with a knight. Queen f4. I go back to f7 because now I'm actually willing to put my knight on e5, and then my knight will be doing a lot of work. Rook h8, and a good bit of his advantage goes away. And now he's not plus like 3.5, he's plus 1.8, and that's in some improvement. So rook h1, takes, and it's down to +1. It's down to +1 now, plus 0.8. Crazy. And knight e5 happens, takes, and his queen has to leave now. And this endgame is kind of drawish. Endgame is kind of draw. It's just hard for white to break through, even though white has an extra pawn. Now queen here. I give this check because I mean I kind of have to. If any move besides king g2, I have a perpetual. He plays king g2. Of course, he's not an idiot. And I go queen f6. Maybe I'm pressuring this f3 pawn in some future line. Maybe I should have played queen f6 first and not given that check. Either way, my opponent plays this move b4. I take, because I don't want him to play b5. b5 would be like death. So here, and I go with this move queen e7, defending both pawns, of course. Don't want to lose any pawns. Queen back to b2, and I go queen c7. My whole idea was to play queen c7 here, if he allowed it. Of course, if he played this move queen b6, I wouldn't be able to play queen b7, but queen c7. But I might play this move bishop e8. I might try to wrap around. You never know. There's still lots of potential for me here, which is saying something since the last position was pretty awful. Yeah. Either way, that didn't happen. He let me go to b7, and his idea, of course, of queen b2 is that he's trying to play f4. I go queen c7, f4, and I take on a5. If he takes here, I'm completely fine. I am completely fine. I go to g8. He has like very little checks. Well, he has checks, but these checks don't accomplish anything, like queen b8. If you ever actually here I have to go to anywhere besides g7. I have to go to h7 or something. If he ever takes this pawn, I'm gonna pick up his bishop. Really, that's somehow king g3 is not losing, but I mean probably king h1. And then bishop f4, queen f4, and I mean, his best hope is to get a draw here. He can try to play for the win, but there's nothing here. You have to go for the perpetual. So he can't really take that pawn. And he takes on e5. I recapture, takes, and somehow it's back to +3. I don't know why. But either way, it's +3 again. I go king h6. And he plays move g5, again losing like most of his advantage. If I go king h5, I actually just completely lose. Like king h5, it's checkmate actually. Let's just illustrate it. King h5, he has this move bishop here, and then he has checkmate. So he has checkmate in two ways. He has checkmate on f4 and g3. Anyway, of course I go down. He gives me a check. I go down again, and he comes here, and I have a draw. I've finally made a draw. Bishop h5, draw, accepted, draw agreed. Like there's nothing. He goes here, queen d2. I can pick up the bishop in some lines. Yeah, if he comes here, I mean, I can at least pick up the bishop, and he has to make a perpetual. He has nothing else. Nothing better. Nothing better than perpetual here. which is very, very nice. I'm glad I made a draw, but I miss it. I go queen d2 first, targeting the bishop. Now queen d8, queen f6, defend my bishop. And again, I have a draw, queen d5. I play the best move. I play bishop h5 check. Bishop h5 check, the best move. Very excited. Bishop h5 check, the best move, and I have a draw. And after here, I miss the move. It's so simple, and I miss it. It's obviously I need to take this free pawn. And then this is a drawn endgame. This is a drawn endgame because I'm going to give him a perpetual check, and I'll be able to force a draw. But I just don't see it. I instead play this move queen e1, queen f2, and I misclick for the last time. I trying to play this move queen c3, pinning the bishop to the king and making some progress. But instead of doing that, instead of doing the best move there, I end up misclicking and I play this move queen d2. And of course, this is a free queen. Yeah, I resign here because I would offer a draw if the position was more equal, but I mean, I'm losing. I was completely losing beforehand. So yeah, that's the 2 games I played versus this guy. Lost a couple points. Yeah, I'm not 2100 anymore, which is very sad, but it'll get back there eventually. Yeah. Either way, hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys found this instructive. Yeah, good evening and good night.